Hi everyone, this tutorial is supposed to build off of the last piece in which we learned how to insert one piece of an image into another image. And for that we made a smart object and added it in as a layer. And you can see here that if I make that layer invisible, you can see I've added this woman's head on top of the oil level lay bottle. It's a smart object, which means if I go into the smart object I can see here's the original image. And what I've done is I've cut out her head and made it into a clipping mask so that anything that is painted here in any color on this layer will make this stuff appear, which is very, very useful if I want to bring back part of her, let's say her shoulders or something like that. I can do so very easily. But in this case, what I want to do is actually pull out this oil of oil bottle in the back here. And what I'm going to do is zoom in. What it's going to look like is this, actually. It's not perfectly seamlessly integrated, but you can always do that later on if you choose to. So in this case, I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to use my marquee tool. You can use a circle here, an ellipse, if you want to, and that will come pretty close, which is nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. In most cases, you would probably use the rectangular marquee tool, and if you hold down Shift, it's a perfect rectangle, just like if you hold down Shift here, it's a perfect circle. But this is a pretty good and useful thing because I really only want this, this piece. So what I do is go to Layer, New, Layer via Copy. And the reason I do this is that it allows me to, oh, you know what? Actually, I did that incorrectly. The reason why it brought her face in is because I was not clicked on the right layer, which is my background layer. So I want to click on here, and then I go to Layer, New, Layer via Copy. And you can see that what that's done is it's created this layer 3, which is just this oil of Olay bottle here, just this little thing that was in the bubble. And the nice thing about this is that I can edit as much as I want, and if I screw it up, I can always bring back the background copy. So you never really want to edit this copy if you don't have to. So what I'm going to do here is use a variety of tools, but the main one is this one, and it's called the rubber stamp tool. So when you click on this, it gives you a little brush here, and you, just like the others, you can choose how hard it is and the size. A medium hardness is usually pretty good, somewhere around 40, 50, 60%. And when you press Alt or Option, it takes a little picture. So when you click, it takes a picture of that, and when you roll over, you can see what that picture is. So you can tap. I'm not actually painting with the brush. If I do that, it will actually duplicate the image over on the side, and that's not what you want. So what I want to do is just take some pictures and multiple pictures and just kind of tap in to build it from the side here to duplicate as much as possible. This is very useful because if I wanted to extend this edge to build this back, if I had a problem image or something, all you do is you do that and you can build that edge back in. So if you're trying to take something out and rebuild everything behind it and there's like a building or something behind it, you can then follow that edge from one piece. But in this case, I don't need to do that. What I'm trying to do is just to take these pictures to be able to color this in a little bit. So again, notice I'm making a bunch of little taps here instead of actually painting this long extended brush stroke. Really, really gentle here. I'm getting pretty close to the edge, but you want to be careful. You don't want to make it look really bad, so you want to take pictures as close as you can to the original color without necessarily going over things you don't want to go over. So you can see that there are these hard edges that I'm creating, and we're going to have to take those out because obviously those would never exist in the original image, and that happens because they've used a variety of gradients here to be able to make this background and make it look like a dream or a thought bubble or whatever this is supposed to be. So you can see that I'm getting pretty close here. It's not perfect. Again, I've got these hard edges, but we can take those out later on if we need to. And we do need to because they really look atrocious. So you can see how close this is getting without really that much effort. If it starts to mess up, just keep taking more pictures until you get it looking pretty much like you want it to look. So here I've got this thing, and it really has way too many little issues here. I could blur this out, blur the whole thing out, and that would help. I could use a bunch of filters, but I've got these other issues here and I've got these straight edges, so I don't really want to do that. So instead I'm just going to use the blur tool, which is this little teardrop. And I'm going to have a really strong strength here. Often you wouldn't want it this strong, but in this case I think it's going to be really useful. Notice that my brush is pretty soft here, but I think I'm going to bring it in a little bit. And my brush is big. And what this is doing is it's actually softening these edges substantially. You could use something called the healing brush, which is this. And anytime there's a really hard edge, you can go over it and it will begin to soften that edge for you. This is usually used to, for instance, in models and photography, fashion photography, it's used to take the zits and things like that, blemishes off of a model's face. And it works pretty well to get these sharp edges out. But not always. You can see in that one it doesn't really. So in that case you'd want to go through and blur. You can also use the smudge tool, which is in here as well. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll try it and see. You can actually smudge, drag out pieces of this to blur it in a little bit. So you can actually, that works pretty well. If you've got a piece that is, I mean, you can see this isn't quite perfect. You know, it's not really working the way I'd like it to. Often this is because there's multiple colors here, and in that case what I'm going to use is the dodge and burn tools. This is dodge, and it makes things lighter. If I stick on this a little bit, hold down on this a little bit, I get my burn tool, which makes it darker. So I've got definitely some very light spots here, and very dark spots here, and I want to make those brighter. So really I'm just going to click and drag little bits here and there to make this look a little better, a little more seamless. I might do that a little bit here. I'm just clicking and clicking to be able to make this integrated as much as possible. So it's getting close. Still not perfect. You know, you might just tap it a little bit here and there and see if you can merge these types of images in, but this is actually very, very close to where I want to be. So when I zoom out into my fit screen and then I bring back in my background copy, you can see it actually looks very, very close, and when I throw this on top of it, it's really indistinguishable. This is especially useful for copy. So let's say I wanted to remove effects from this total effects. I would do the same process. I would click on my background copy, go to my marquee. In this case, I'm going to want to go to my rectangular marquee, and I'm going to pull this piece out. So I just highlight it, and then I go to Layer, New, Layer via Copy. And again, this doesn't destroy that original layer, which is very, very useful. This is the one that I had done before. So here's my layer. If I take out the background, you can see it's just effects. So what I'm going to do is just very simply do the same thing. I'm going to take my rubber stamp tool, take some pictures. I'm going to make it a little smaller here by pressing my bracket. Alt, take the picture. Now what you'll notice is that this is actually a strange tan color, or orange color. And the reason it is because this layer is actually that color. I've just added a hue and saturation thing to it, right? So this is what it actually looks like. So you can take that adjustment layer off and then begin to go through this to make it look a little better. It will actually automatically change when you turn the adjustment layer back on. And even if I was here and I took some pictures and I'm painting in theory in orange, but what it's actually doing is adjusting it automatically as soon as I paint. So what I see is orange, but what it's actually painting is the adjusted color. Because if I ever want to take that adjustment off, I actually want it to be in the original color, not in the new adjusted color. So if I go back into here and I want to change this color at all, I might want to, let's say, change the color to here. And you can see that it's still the same original color, but it's changed to green there. So that's basically how you go about doing this. And like I said, it's a very, very simple process. It's not editable because I'm not on my correct layer, which would be this one, or this one. but it really is simple. Um, Obviously, I'm not trying to make this perfect right now. Usually you would use the same process in terms of dodging and burning and blurring things out to make this look very, very close to the original. But when I zoom out, you can see that because this is cloudy, it's very, very difficult to see a difference here. Um, and you have a little bit of roughness, but that roughness can easily be changed with the blur tool or any number of filters. The first thing you want to do is just take it out roughly, and then you can fix it later on if you need to. That's it. Good luck.